Welcome, cosmic listeners, to a journey unlike any other you've embarked upon. As the vastness of space stretches out before us, so too does the vastness of our own minds. This is where the ethereal meets the extraterrestrial, where inner space meets outer space. I'm your guide, alongside my hosts, Doro and Matt, and you're tuning into the intersection of meditation and mysteries beyond our stars. Picture this, a vast universe, ever expanding, filled with stars, galaxies, and possibilities. Now visualize our own minds equally deep, intricate, and filled with untapped potential. What if these two worlds aren't as separate as they seem?
All right. Well, welcome out there for joining us for another episode of Meditation and Aliens with Matt and Doro. And this is Matt. Hi, Doro.
Hey, Matt. It's good to be back.
Thanks for joining me again. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. Out for my walk, the leaves are falling. I'm just having a good time being in the moment.
Excellent.
How are you
Excellent.
doing? You doing good?
I'm doing good. Doing good. It's been a good week. And I started an additional podcast exercise this week related to the alien topic.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be focused on trying to talk about it for elementary school age sort of young people, and sort of really just a gentle exploration of the topic.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to want to hear more about that.
Yeah. Well, but why don't we jump into to this week? So we start with our alien news update. Is there anything on the top of your mind?
I've been listening to Stephen Greer about how he got into the position that he's in and sort of going off and just educating myself more, but I don't think I've actually kept up on the most current events. So what's happening out there?
Well, I mean, I think the big thing right now, it seems the USA is kind of in control of alien disclosure on Earth. It seems, it seems it's all about the U.S. Congress right now. I mean, except people like Stephen Greer, and there are some activists like him that are sort of on the. He seems to go connect. He does have connections with Congress and the disclosure movement, but he seems to be sort of an outsider to the Christopher Mellon, Lou Elizondo, uh, Gary Nolan sort of. I don't know if you know who all those, but they're probably they're big figures on the disclosure world. And
Are they some of the whistleblowers that we're hearing about?
yeah, David Grush, Commander Fravor, and Ryan Graves, they're the three that testified. David Grush is the whistleblower, and I believe Stephen Greer says he has talked to, I think, each of them, or maybe not Ryan Graves, but in any case, the update is that there is incredible legislation before Congress right now that, if passed, will seem to completely take control of the United States information on UFOs and aliens and put it completely in the control of the US president. And it even says things like it'll give the US government eminent domain over any alien technology that any private corporation has. And they have 6 months to turn it over, or else the US has the right to come in and just take it. So I mean, if this stuff is true, it's legislation that's basically setting up, it's basically demanding the complete surrender of private corporations that are hiding alien technology to the USA, and puts it in control of the president. So this is before Congress right now, but it's tied to the NDAA, the massive bill that's in that they're fighting over in Congress right now, that is basically about to shut down the government, if you've been following any of that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is all pulling together. Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
So behind closed doors, you've got this there's a special list of Congress people and senators. I think it's all Congress. There's a special list of Congress men and women who are allowed in the secret rooms where they're talking and debating this NDAA and fighting the fight. And we know the UFO amendment is one of the things in the NDAA. And we know the Ohio congressman, I think his name's Mike Turner, he's the congressman of the district that has Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which has Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, which is absolutely Stephen Greer, everyone says Lockheed Martin is one of those corporations holding alien crafts and hiding
Right. Yes.
it. And so he is fighting this, the NDAA amendment. He's trying to, slash the UFO thing, but it seems that the majority of Congress and the Senate, I mean, the NDAA amendment came out of the Senate, like by Schumer and others, with seemingly no opposition from significant congressmen. So it seems it's Congressman Turner and there's a few others that are like in the pockets of the military industrial complex. They're trying to fight this, but they don't seem to have the momentum. So long story short, we're waiting for this, government shutdown to be resolved. I think they're fighting over other things that involve lots of money. I think there's, who knows? Who knows what they're really fighting about behind those closed doors? But I think
Right. Yeah.
it's eventually going to pass. There might be a government shutdown because they like to fight, but then it's going to pass. And then they say it's going to be 6 months before, this will be completely or the amnesty period will be up for the corporations to share. And then it'll be all in the hands of the US president. Absolutely, 100%. The US president and this little board of people will be in charge of what the American people are told. So it basically will put all the pressure on the next presidential election to say whoever you elect to be president is going to be the one in charge of alien disclosure for the next 4 years, and they're going to have all the info. So it's really going to, I don't know, I don't see
That's
any way.
enormous. Yeah, that is enormous. Now, the video that I was just watching about, Stephen Greer's whole history and all up to the present moment, well, up to when it was being recorded, which I think was in June, he was saying that at that time that he has been working on helping to organize and pull together and fund a group of attorneys who want to get in there and sue Lockheed Martin and Raytheon for participating in these black projects. So what I'm hearing you say is that maybe that has had some success, because now it's coming back into the hands of our government. Because before this, he was saying back when he first found out that the government had no idea what was going on when this thing started 33 years ago, he tells that story about how shocking it was to find out that they didn't know, and that it had advanced and grown and gone deep underground and trillions of dollars. And so trying to pull that bad weed out of the garden has been an enormous and risky task. And so I'm just interested to hear if this, I mean, so now it's got an organization that has the president's oversight. Is that what you're saying? The whole thing is
Yeah,
finally
the
okay.
bill, the NDA creates, it basically says the president will appoint a council, and it tries to say that this council should have like a diversity of scientists and people on it, and this council or board will be completely in charge of all UFO and UAP videos and whether or not it's disclosed, and in charge of figuring out what the truth is and figuring out how to tell it even says like a controlled disclosure process needs to be created. They need to figure out what they're going to say is true and figure out some order in which to tell people. And I think the thing that is just hiding so obviously beneath the surface of all this, when they start revealing the history of what's been happening, I mean, it's going to shake our understanding of the United States, of our history, but I think it's also going to reveal a ton of crime, a ton of murders. I think and Stephen Greer talks about this,
Yeah.
that he knows people that have been killed over this issue over the years just for like developing technology. He says people have been killed just because they've come close to developing 0 point energy technology, because the secret keepers, that's one of the things they've intentionally kept hidden, because they have trillions and trillions of dollars in assets and everything tied up in the oil industry.
Exactly. Yeah, he talks a lot about the 0 point energy problem. And in fact, that's what's kind of spurring him on, is that, he sees how it's being withheld from the people, and how advantageous it could be if we had it. It would end poverty, it would end all these massive problems. So, that's why he got out of medicine and took this on as a personal mission, because he sees the suffering. Helping somebody in the emergency room is one thing, but helping millions of people have free energy is a bigger thing. So that's
Yeah.
his goal. That's his whole spiel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So let's see, what other things that I want to oh, well, I do want to recommend to the audience the UFO Rabbit Hole podcast interview with Christopher Sharp. He does an amazing job going over some of the drama behind the scenes in Congress, and he talks about Lou Elizondo, another huge figure in this process, who, he's been sort of silent for the last 2 years, but he was sort of the first David Grush who came out and was, just leading the charge, telling us that he found out something is really going on behind the scenes, and he's like, this has to be revealed. And he's the one that mentioned Majestic 12. His lawyer did. I think his name's Daniel Sheehan, who is an incredible guy. Daniel Sheehan went on the news, and right before the UFO hearings, and in representing Lou Elizondo, and the news person asked Daniel Sheehan, who is this secret government behind, who is really behind all this? Who are the secret keepers? And he said Majestic 12. He dropped that word. Majestic 12 has a huge 30 or 50-year history of conspiracy theory around it. And so by dropping that one name, he's opening a door that, if you go and search it, you'll find a ton of the same guy, Daniel Sheehan, talking about JFK's assassination and Majestic 12 being involved with that. And
Wow.
he ties it massively to the war machine back in most of his videos. It's only, I think, now recently, maybe by meeting Lou Elizondo, he's realized it's not just the war machine. The war machine is really part of this UFO alien technology cover-up machine. It's all tied together. And so I think that's the thread that's going to explode. You can't unravel this without it coming out that JFK was murdered to help protect this. And I think it's going to lead to all the murders that Greer knows about also. It's going to lead to, there's a guy named Forrestal, who, if you search the Majestic 12 data, his name is actually one of the first members of Majestic 12 back in the, I think, 60s, because there's a document that was released, but he also fell out of a window and died in some. He's
Oh, wow.
legendary. There's a legend that he was murdered to cover this up, and I think there's a female journalist. There's all sorts of stories that she was killed to stop this from getting out. So I think if all these threads are going to lead to more threads, and I just hope, my hope is that the government right now and the Justice Department actually is finally just starting to look at this and saying, we have to come clean, and we have to be ready to present. These 20 people are now under arrest because we've opened investigations on all these murders, and we have to hold somebody accountable as we tell the public about this, or else I don't know what's going to happen.
It's incredible. So you have mentioned the Majestic 12 a number of times, and I keep meaning to do some research, but maybe just fill me in. Who exactly are they?
So so this is why I love doing podcasts. You know how I'd love a friend of mine to say, oh, tell me what you know about Majestic 12.
Well,
But
I just did.
it just doesn't happen.
Right.
So Majestic 12 is apparently the code name for the group that was created in like the 1950s after, this is the story, that Eisenhower made a treaty with aliens, and they created a secret group to be the ones in charge of managing this treaty, and they called it MJ-12. And they said that it's a new type of top secret. Some stuff is top secret, but if it's part of this secret, it's called majestic. So it's like, I guess there's been uncovering of documents through history that they were like, what is this code name Majestic on these documents? And it was considered more secret than top secret. And then this guy, Bill Cooper, who was a super UFO researcher in I guess the 60s and 70s, maybe even the 80s, I don't know, but he would go around, and you can find videos of him talking about that he uncovered, well, there's a document, a big document, like I don't know, like 20-page document that looks like it's from 1956, and it actually it's like the founding papers of this secret group, Majestic 12, and it says it's basically it says the names of the first like 15 people that are on it, who I think are all dead now. And this document, he was going around saying this was proof that Majestic 12 existed, and it was created to hide these aliens and these alien secrets. And the CIA took those documents, and they said they're studying them, and then they just like released them and said they're all forgeries. And they literally released a photocopy of the documents, and they wrote bogus on every page in big words. They're just like bogus, bogus, bogus. And they just, and the New York, I don't know, the newspaper said, oh, they were just forgeries. But I think they were actually possibly completely genuine.
That's amazing.
So it's really weird. It was really a big, weird thing for Lou Elizondo's lawyer to just name drop Majestic 12 and say it was, and to pull that thread. Oh, and the other thing you should know is Bill Cooper was killed by the police trying to serve a warrant on him for tax evasion. And so it's like another mysterious death of like the government killing someone for tax evasion. It's like, how often does that happen?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
So anyway, that's some of the Majestic 12 story.
That Majestic 12, you know what it's tying in with me is the stories of Atlantis. I've been learning about this, and sort of catching up with all the cuneiform tablets of the ancient Sumerians and all of the ancient teachings that are being discovered even currently, as our technology is improving. We're learning more and more, and you see these references to these half god, half man, right? People, or hybrids living here on this planet that actually were developed or came from Atlantis or ancient Egypt, and that there were 12 of them on this planet, and they moved around the planet and kind of secured their own territories. I'm wondering, why 12? This is 12. They're supposed to be half gods, or half aliens, we should say now, half alien, and they're hybrids, alien and human hybrids. We're probably all human alien hybrids, but I think they were like the first. Putting the puzzle pieces together is just so fascinating. It's a much bigger puzzle than I had anticipated.
Yeah. Well, there's
the other thing that's concerning me is that this Majestic 12 secret group, we're talking about, well, it's finally going to come under the, control of the government, but this has historically not been an American issue. They have no issue. They cross boundaries like, we go from Michigan to Ohio. I mean, they have no respect for boundaries. They don't have any kind of regard. So I'm not sure how it can fall under American government presidential control. What's your thought on that one?
Yes, I agree with you. I don't think so there seems to be a secret global government that it just sort of has control of a rogue portion of the US government. And that rogue portion of the US government, that might be the Majestic 12, or it might be named after the true world government, MJ12, which it might be some ancient alien alliance of civilizations or something. It could be, so yes, but the legislation in Congress should give the president of the United States, it should give him or her complete ability to take control of US information on this.
Yeah.
Now, but
Yeah.
it's not going to put them in control of the secret world government or alien species or whatever's going on there, but it should clearly put the president in charge. But the funny thing is not the funny thing is, I mean, the last time a president tried to really take charge of this issue, I think was JFK.
Yep.
And so, I think that in a way, it might actually scare the presidential candidates into really thinking about, do they want to be the single point of power between humanity and aliens and this secret group? Because it might, anyways.
Yeah.
And
It's a
there's
big
other theories.
responsibility.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but I wanted to throw in there's another connection, MJ12, that's really interesting. And it's a theory that goes along with 12 planets in our solar system, and that there's a theory that a planet hit Earth, which used to be in a different orbit, and it used to be between, and it knocked it. Let me see if I have this right. Um, it has something to do with Mars and Jupiter. That MJ meant Mars and Jupiter, and that Earth used to be between Mars and Jupiter, and now it's in a different. And it's now the new 12th planet. And so it's saying, it like says Mars and Jupiter, and it's the 12th. Anyway, there's some ancient connection there that I've heard someone explain much better than I am. But
Okay, well
um,
that's interesting. Yeah, I do hear stories about how, hundreds of thousands of years ago or whatever, that the planets were actually in a completely different arrangement. Um, yeah, would like to touch more into that sometime, but there's this whole thing about Saturn used to be a sun, and that's what the ancient Egyptians were worshiping. Yeah, so there's a lot of mystery there. We got so much to learn, right?
right. Oh, and then I mean, can't talk about this without mentioning Nibiru and the
Of
theory
course.
of the secret planet in a highly elliptical orbit that possibly gets close to Earth every 15,000 years or every 5,000 years or something. And
Yep.
yeah, and there is actually, it is not hard to find. Really is a ton of evidence that there is a planet or a heavy object. It could even be a mini black hole or red or a dwarf star or something that, I mean, there is definite astronomical evidence by gravity that there could be a planet Nibiru, and nobody talks about that. And it's just hidden. It's like 8-year-old news from these like astronomers, and it's just nobody talks about this secret planet that literally there's evidence it's there. We have James Webb. We should be looking at
Yeah.
it.
I think they're here. I also think that they could be technologically advanced enough that they're cloaked, so we couldn't see them. I mean, cloaking, I'm sure for them is no big deal. They could do that easily.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so but all the other evidence is there, right? The whatever how they electromagnetic magnetism, and they can measure things and see there's something there, but they can't see it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's tons of I mean, the hearings and the evidence is like overwhelming. It's kind of interesting just sort of like watching to see the news, like, where is this going? Is there going to be, it seems to have a momentum. There's a lot of people talking about that it has momentum because they have to reveal it by like 2027. I mean, some people are talking about there's going to be an arrival and a revelation, like, and we have no choice. Humanity has to, the governments have to do some sort of preparation of the masses for these aliens arriving or something arriving.
Yeah, and Greer was saying that there's kind of this big mess going on between, the powers now, these not alien powers. He was saying these aliens, these extraterrestrials, he doesn't like to call them aliens because there's people calling other people from other countries aliens. And so
Right.
these are extraterrestrials, be outside of Earth influences that are here, and that they are benevolent. He says this is something everybody needs to understand. All of the violent tendencies and hanky panky and underground secrets and darkness. This is all coming from us. And we have back engineered some of the ET technologies, and we have created some pretty pretty amazing things, in quantum field and, what do they call these, all these, something resonance. And anyway, there's these, they can even probably travel in time now, but they don't have, they're a dark force and they're not using it benevolently. And the aliens, supposedly, the ETs are supposedly trying to figure out how to get past them in order to help us. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's Greer's point. He says, now if we hear any malarkey about, hostile aliens, he said, you can be sure this is coming from these black operations that are basically based out of Antarctica.
Mm.
So anybody out there listening, if you hear ETs coming, they're not malevolent. They are benevolent.
Hmm. Yeah, it definitely seems um like there's indication. I mean, it sort of makes sense. If aliens are going to come here and reveal themselves, there could be the forces on Earth that they want to be in control of Earth when the aliens get here, and part of that strategy could be like you want to make the people fear the aliens so they trust you to be the trusted liaison between humanity and or the decision makers, or whether or not we try to fight the aliens. Or it's a and it seems that it's a lot of people are saying that's their play. The aliens are going to arrive, but they're going to try to make you believe it's an invasion and that they're evil, or they may try to simulate an invasion before the aliens arrive because they can maybe fake it better than um I mean, it that seems like it might happen. So
I think so. That's the Blue Beam. Is it Blue Beam? Yeah, Blue Beam project. Is that, well, so far it's been called a conspiracy that the Pentagon or whoever it is, that they've got all these technologies to kind of stage a hostile alien invasion, just to scare everybody into, one world government, which would give them total control.
yeah, I mean, it is such a it's such a difficult time because it's like, who do you trust that can tell you the truth? I mean, I don't even know. You don't know what scientists to trust. It doesn't matter who's on TV. Neil deGrasse Tyson, like, he seems sometimes to me to just be part of the lying. I've lost. NASA seems to be clearly part of the cover up, and they seem to have been part of it from the beginning, from the 50s, 60s when they were created. And that makes sense if this was, because there's a ton of astronauts who have said they've seen UFOs in
Right.
space. And so you can't, NASA's not able to, shut them up, but they're able to marginalize them because no one, really is paying attention to all these astronaut stories except, crazy people like you and I and Stephen Greer and even Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon and them. They don't really talk about um, the astronauts who have come forward and said these things. They don't talk about. It's interesting what different UFO activists do and do not talk about and acknowledge. What aspects
Interesting.
of the secret they acknowledge. You know,
Yeah.
they will acknowledge that the US government is hiding secrets and that the UFOs are real. But Greer says US has mastered this anti-gravity technology and has a fleet of ships, but you know, other people won't go there. Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, they don't go that far, and the Congress is not going that far. Maybe because they don't believe it, or they're not willing to let that part of the secret come out. Some people will talk about Antarctica, but others try to push your eyes away from that.
Yeah. I mean, Stephen Greer is saying the US is not necessarily hiding anything. They don't know enough. I mean, maybe they do now. They're starting to, but up until recently, they have been pretty much in the dark. And, with all of these people coming forward, trying to bring these black operations out from the shadows, and now the government sounds like is finally aware and trying to get hold of these operations.
Yeah.
That's what it's sounding like to me.
Absolutely. It seems like Congress has been like just completely in the dark and ignored like patsies for years on this. And
Yeah.
it seems like the president may have been just like, under extreme pressure by an alien, much more powerful alien government whenever. So it's like so, and now it seems Congress, there's at least a few rogue members of Congress that are, that like it has this Congressman Burchett, Congressman Luna, Congressman Gallagher. They all played this like key role in making these hearings happen. And the last hearing, there's you came out of that and you had AOC there, and you had after the hearing, she's one of the most popular Democratic Congress people,
Yeah.
and so it was like quite a bridge. And Matt Gaetz also was there. He's like a big right wing. It was this beautiful right left wing, representation, and everyone on the hearing was taking it seriously. And it seemed like, and she came out after the hearing and she's like, I don't know about the UFO thing, but I definitely seem to see that there's some military corporate fraud that I'm happy to investigate. That's like, she's like, I'm totally down to pull that thread. And that's sort of
Yeah.
the last we heard of her.
Yeah.
And, so it was like, great, they're going to pull this thread and find where are these UFO technologies. But one of the weird thing that happened was this guy, Congressman Gallagher, who also is really big on pushing for this. The only thing he's been talking about since the UFO hearings really is he's been saying taxpayer money has been channeled to private corporations. He's not connecting it to UFOs. He's just saying he has found that taxpayer money is being channeled to military private corporations owned by China.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm wondering if Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, I mean, maybe they don't care about boundaries either. They may be just as much Chinese as they are American at this point. I don't know. Do you know
Well,
anything
well,
about
that's
that?
what he seems he's not specifically naming the corporations, but he is going saying that we are sending taxpayer money to corporations controlled by China, and he's saying that over and over again. So it makes me think, well, are we basically starting to hear that China is somehow maybe they MJ12? Could China be the home of the global corporation that has secretly been uh basically, I mean, it's like it was really interesting that he's connecting all this huge fraud to China. At the same time, they're saying the UFO alien thing is going to some secret private corporations in the military industrial complex. It's
That's amazing. I mean, that just lines up with, the whole WEF 2031 agenda or whatever it is. And I mean, it's all looking very Chinese. And, I don't want to go into all kinds of weird, fearful conspiracies, but keep hearing, China's very much involved in this, probably, but who knows? We might be more involved. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, and it's so then if you step back, this is a weird thread that's just come together for me. So like I'm like, okay, what's the role with China? And then what's the role with Russia? We're in Ukraine, or the US is helping Ukraine fight Russia, but um but China is over here possibly having like huge money in the military industrial complex. I'm like, whose enemy, who's actually the enemy of humans, and who's actually the enemy of just the secret government in the US?
Yeah.
And one of the
Yeah.
things is, if you think about NASA is clearly part of the secret keepers in the US government, but you know who NASA is completely buddies with is
Uh-oh.
Russia.
Oh,
NASA
really?
allows Russia, they've been doing the International Space Station with Russia and doing space missions with Russia for years, but you know who they don't allow on the International Space Station ever? China. They have never allowed China. China's had to have their own space program. So I'm like, there's some weird dynamic here of the US, Russia, and China, and aliens and space, and who are the enemies, and where is the money for military. It's like there's some, I don't understand the picture, but there's some relationship going on there that
Isn't it amazing? And yeah, and now we've got India. Didn't they just land something on Mars or the moon or something? I mean, they're coming up too. So, and it's hard to say with all this outer space exploration, where are the boundaries out there? Can we really say I'm Chinese and you're American? And um, when we're out here in space where there's not even a planet, let alone boundaries of countries. So
yeah.
it's an interesting position we're in right now as humanity, just trying to figure out who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? You know, are they good? Are they bad? Who do you trust? And for that reason, I think it is so critical. And we try to talk about this with each show here. Is the ability to deal with this kind of floating anxiety that everybody feels. You know, what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's fake, what's, you know, where's the, because there's such a manipulation in every direction. So the work I'm wanting to do, obviously, is to help people keep their feet on the ground and stay centered and stay peaceful, you
Yeah.
know, to manage fear and anxiety.
Yeah. Well, I think also it's critical for everyone to remember that the whoever these secret governments, human governments, are in control of each country is completely different than the humans or the aliens. You know, if there's aliens, no doubt they have their own sort of government. And I like the idea that of people and aliens, beings of all types, just reaching out together, ignore the governments, ignore those that claim authority over you and your stuff, and we can decide our own how we're going to share the universe together and have peace, and honesty together. And we can all sort of I want to just like push all the liars and deceivers and secret keepers and people fighting for money to the side and say, if you know, that's not the path to happiness, being selfish jerks. And we don't need to put you at the center of our hearts in any way.
You know, and Stephen Greer and many people now are stepping up and saying, you know, we don't have to depend on any power or government or military to be the liaison between the extraterrestrials and us, because they have the ability, the extraterrestrials have the capability of communicating with us directly. And I think these powers, these dark powers that are operating in the world right now, they know this. And for that reason, and this is my opinion, for that reason, they make sure that we are all very distracted, very hypnotized, very entertained, very, you know, so that we can't quiet our minds enough to really hear what might be being shared with us by these higher intelligences. And that's why meditation, if you can get quiet, you can start to hear. Or not, it's not hearing, and I've said this, I think, probably with every show so far, is that it's not a hearing, it's not a language. It's like a receiving a compressed information packet, and we just instantly decipher it in our own languages, whatever it is. Um, so it's coming. These are insights, and even ancient Hindus and Buddhists, they all have been familiar with this, called insight meditation, where you quiet your mind without any expectation, but you can open up, you know, be receptive to any answers to any questions that you might have. So you put an answer or a question out there, and then you meditate. And even Deepak Chopra, he says you go into meditation, and then the answer can come in. He says, drop your question into the gap and then let it go and meditate. And very often you will, at some point during your meditation or some other meditation, you will receive an answer or a solution, it actually feels more like a memory. It's like, aha, that's what it feels like. So it's not like analyzing or figuring it out or translating. It's just suddenly you get it. It's like a memory, and you know what is being relayed to you. So that's the kind of just open insight meditation that I like to introduce people to, and it's a way of being guided through this, and it's also just to keep our own sanity, because I think we're being tested for in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. It sounds like a perfect segue to, shall we wrap up today's show with a guided meditation?
That would be great. So about 15 minutes.
That would be wonderful. Thanks for joining today.
Oh, this is great. Okay. And so after the meditation, we'll just say goodbye and let people take that peace and quiet with them.
Great.
All right, so we'll start with just getting comfortable. And we can have eyes open or closed. If you're having your eyes open, try to just kind of make it a, unfocused gaze without, analyzing something in front of you. Just sort of comfortable, open eyes or closed eyes, which is what I prefer. So if we can, we just sit comfortably with our feet on the floor, or if we're sitting cross-legged, just feeling our butt on the cushion. And I'm going to ring the bell a little bit, and we'll just follow that from the beginning to the end. So with all this information that comes to us from every direction, sometimes it's good to just put it down and just come into our own sense of being. So with that, let's tune into our senses. What do we hear? What's coming in through the ears? You might hear my dog snoring. You might hear a rooster crowing. So where you are, I don't know, you might hear a car or a bird singing, a refrigerator running. So we'll just take a minute to listen. Listen to what is. And see if you can actually feel that vibration on your eardrum. Maybe you can feel that almost electric impulses in your body with these vibrations hitting your ears. And let's just take a look at what's going on with our breathing. We can breathe in and feel our torso expanding. And then releasing it, you feel the contraction. Breathing in, breathing out. So this is just what is happening. This is letting go of all the things we're learning about and hearing, all the confusion, all the voices. We're just kind of putting that to the side and becoming aware of what is actually happening in the moment. See if you can maybe feel the tingling of life in your hands, in the palms of your hands. I read something very interesting that the air, the oxygen that we're breathing in is actually the consciousness that we carry, and it's just our nervous system that is actually deciphering the consciousness that comes in. So consciousness comes in through the breath. Our brain uses that to decipher and make sense out of things. It's interesting. So we're just being with what is right now. And if the oxygen is consciousness, then it's everywhere, permeating everything. Everything is conscious. And what's the difference between this body and the seat we sit on? There's no difference. Different degrees of electromagnetic impulses and energy waves, vibrations, but essentially there's not much difference. What we do have is the ability to direct our attention. So let's bring our attention to our right foot, maybe even our right pinky toe. Just like a flashlight, bring your awareness right there. Now move it over to the other foot, to your left pinky toe. All your toes together. In Buddhism, this is what's called a scanning meditation. Scanning different parts of the body, different sensations coming in. Everything on the outside is changing constantly. Anything that we can perceive, there's nothing to hold on to. Impermanence is the first teaching in meditation. Breathing in, breathing out. And every time your mind gets carried away with a thought, which it does all the time, the real practice is in noticing that and bringing it back to the body, to the breath. Now, if I say, turn your head to the left, notice how my words hit your ears. Your ears take that in, your brain deciphers it. It gives an order to your muscles to turn, turning the head. Turning the head the other way. You can notice the intention. First the visualization, then the intention, and then the movement. This is a practice of letting go of thinking. Breathing is always with us. It's our friend. We can always come back to it. That's what's real. For now, everything's changing. And the real beautiful thing is that we're all doing this together. Living these experiences in this world together. Breathing in, breathing out. So as you're scanning your body, see if there's something that wants to be moved or stretched. Maybe rotate your head or stretch your fingers. Just giving our body a little attention. Feel the life in our body. Maybe you can expand that to feel the life in the whole room that you're sitting in, or outside even. In Buddhism, they say even the walls are breathing. This awareness that we hold is a continuum. It just watches everything change as it changes. There's always the watcher, the awareness. The I behind the story. These extraterrestrials are aware of this. They have a higher consciousness. They're willing to mentor us if we want to listen. Humanity is going through a birthing process with a potential to move into a higher consciousness, but it's not guaranteed. It's like birthing. It usually works, but sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, we'll just have to try again. But the potential right now is more in our favor. If we open and be receptive, we can change the whole world. We have to let go of fear in order to receive the guidance. They would like to just invite you to come and sit in this still, quiet place. Just to feel them. They are not a threat. You almost get the sense that they want to tend us like a garden. They want to make sure we grow strong. We have to be willing to hear it, feel it, remember it. They can't tell us what to do. They can only open the door and invite us. So a few minutes of meditation each day can really increase their ability to help us or mentor us, support us. So a few minutes a day, preferably up to maybe 20 minutes once a day to start. So we'll close with a couple of nice deep breaths again. Breathing in, breathing out. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Until next time.
All right. Have a good week. Bye-bye.